only one other conference, let alone division, conference has more than 2 teams in the top 17 of the AP poll. That'd be the Pac-12, who happens to have 4, but here they are. Again, Arkansas, the only team not ranked this week, did get votes and is riding a 3-game winning streak. By the way, Georgia and South Carolina, the only East teams ranked this week at all, at 12 and 13, respectively. Here is ESPN's Football Power Index. The 4 top teams in the country are all SEC teams. Incredible. Alabama is about 26 points better than an average team on a neutral field. Arkansas, I mentioned, not ranked in the AP, but 20 in the FPI. Brett Bielema, what do you think of the West?
You grow fond of that stuff, you know? I mean, it's kind of to me, it's very disturbing because we're not ranked, but I don't like being that one that's not. And I'm not a big rank guy, but I kind of want our place in that history or that nostalgia. You know, I coached at Kansas State, so I appreciated how difficult environment. I shot, some of you may faint, I shot Gus a congrats text and just said, hey, I know how tough that place is. Congrats. And I think that, you know, you look at the Mississippi State LSU, I mean, that probably shocked a lot of people, but LSU's a very good team, but Mississippi State's a very good football team, you know. So I think there's a respect in the league that you really truly don't understand until you're involved in it. And I truly understand it a lot more this year than I did last year.
I really felt like all 7 are quality top 25 teams, and I still believe that. And you know, that just means that our league is, in the West in particular this year, I don't have a lot. I haven't studied a lot of the East, but the West is certainly from top to bottom, I think, arguably as strong as it's ever been.
I'd say you know a little bit about the SEC West. Gene Chizik, who won a national championship as the head coach at Auburn. Matt Stinchcomb, former 2-time All-American at Georgia. I always say former All-American. Once an All-American, always.
I'm still an American, but
and you're
maybe not an All-American anymore.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Best way, I'll start with you, Coach, to describe what is the SEC West.
Brutal. It's brutal. I mean, as a coach in that side of the SEC, you know week in and week out, when you get into league play, there's really no other way to describe it. It's physically challenging. It's athletically challenging. You got the best coaches arguably in the country. Where is there a weak spot? You know, people will argue, is all 4 of these teams ranked, you know, do they deserve it? Yeah, they deserve it because they're, to me, heads and tails above most.
Now you almost don't have a weak spot. It was kind of Arkansas. Now you don't even have that really anymore. What do you think of the West?
You could justify ranking Arkansas at this
Absolutely.
season if you wanted to. I'd describe it as crowded. I mean, when you look at it, I don't know, where is the room for upward mobility in that side of the conference? And you look at how they have dominated the 3 games that they faced from the East Division. Average margin of victory is 28 points, 4 touchdowns. That's hard to wrap your head around. And when I look at it, I think we talked about all the quarterback turnover, Coach, but when you look at the SEC West and you look at some of the known commodities and how those teams have really been able to play well around some of the newer faces, and then couple that with a Nick Marshall at Auburn, a Dak Prescott who went off the other day at the quarterback spot, Kenny Hill stepping right in for Johnny Manziel into that A&M offense. So you look at it and you think, man, I think some of it has to boil back down to you had to replace the most important part of your team at the quarterback position, and the West seemingly has done it more effectively than the SEC East has.
And the defensive lineman of the week is Trey Flowers. The Razorbacks defensive end dominated Northern Illinois' offensive line. He had a team-high 9 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. And he's currently the SEC's all-time active leader in tackles for loss. And now we are joined by the defensive lineman of the week, Trey Flowers. Trey, when you compete in a conference like the SEC where you know the talent level is very high, what does it mean to be awarded by the league with this weekly honor?
It's definitely an honor. You know, like you said, just being in a big-time conference, you know, they're going to run the ball a lot. And, you know, when you got such a group of elite players around the league that, you know, if you can stand up there and be one of the top, that's definitely an honor.
Well, you had 9 tackles, 1 sack, a tackle for loss, and also a forced fumble. When you look at stats like that, what impresses you most, or what are you most trying to fill your stat line with?
I had to say that forced fumble was a big-time game changer. So, the 9 tackles was good, but the forced fumble was a game changer. It created a turnover and touchdown. So, anytime I could be able to help my team a lot, that's big time.
Well, your guy, Darius Philon, he picked it up and scored off of the forced fumble. What is the chemistry like playing with him, another great defender on your line for Arkansas?
It's big chemistry. We came from the same state of Alabama, so we pretty much clicked as soon as we got here, and just to have a big time player, right beside of me, it's big, because he's going to create havoc, and as long as he can do his job and do his job well, that makes you more comfortable to do your job.
And Trey, you're a senior, so there was an opportunity for you to go to the league if that's what you wanted to do, but you made the decision to come back to Arkansas because you said you wanted to help get the program back to where it was. What was ultimately your focus coming into this year, and what do you hope to prove while you're in Fayetteville for the last season?
My main focus was to help my team win. I didn't want to go out, on the record that we went out with last year. So, just to come back and, help the whole Razorback Nation, turn the program around and, get back to the winning streak that, that the winning mentality that we once was. And, the main thing I want to get out of this season is just, obviously to get better, for my, potential NFL career, but, just overall help and lead my team and, just create a bond with a team and, lead them to, be victorious.
Well, how do you describe what it's like right now? You get a win over Texas Tech. I mean, you're coming off of another big win over NIU, and just 2 years ago, that span, you guys went 7-17. What has changed within the program since Coach Bielema has taken over?
Most definitely the attitude. We got a lot of guys around the locker room that, really look towards the win. They expect to win. So just that winning mentality, that winning attitude, that you got a desire to win. And I feel like that's the biggest change from last year to this year.
Well, and you guys also have a stable of running backs, which means they control the time of possessions a lot of times. So what is it like to play on a defense where your offense is going to be able to hold on or maintain possession for a big chunk of the game?
Oh yeah, it's big for a defense, especially defensive linemen. I out there with a lot of plays. If an offense is off the field, that means the defense is on the field. So, anytime you can sit back and rest your legs and grab a drink and talk the game plan over with your coach for a great number of time, it's big time. So those running backs are ours, that offensive line are ours. They're gonna keep on doing what they're doing to hold the clock as long as they can.
Well, congratulations again on being the defensive lineman of the week. And I'm impressed, man. You're an econ major, so that's pretty big time. Good luck with the rest of the season, Trey.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Well, it may not have been their best rushing performance, but then again, these game changers didn't really need to show up big in a lopsided win. But Arkansas's three-headed rushing attack of Williams, Collins, and Corliss Marshall averaged 5.2 yards per carry against NIU on Saturday. And their quarterback wasn't too shabby either. Brandon Allen added to the offense's efficiency by going 15 of 22 passing for 199 yards and also accounted for 3 touchdowns. He threw for 2 and rushed for 1 on Saturday's game. Now let's take another look at the Hogs and their 3-game win streak. Arkansas is outscoring their opponents by 6 touchdowns a game and outrushing them by almost 300 yards. The defense is happier because, well, basically they don't have to go on the field because the offense is holding the ball for an extra 8 minutes a game. And how about this? If you like offense, then you'll love this. Arkansas will face Texas A&M in a battle of the 2 most efficient offenses in the conference coming up soon. But Bret Bielema, he has a lot to be proud of and a lot to improve on moving forward.
I think Saturday after the game, I gave credit where credit was due. But, when you take a look at the film, there are some things we definitely needed to correct and move forward. you know, I truly do appreciate and hope that someday beating Northern Illinois isn't a really big deal. You know, I mean, it was a big deal because we hadn't won at home, but it's a team that we should expect to have success on. And when you get to a point as a coach that you feel like that can happen, you can really start to treat your players a little bit differently. And obviously, certain quarterbacks to make their mark as an athletic quarterback. And when he scrambled for that first one a week ago at Texas Tech, I made the reference, who would have known we had an athletic quarterback, and he knew where I was coming from. Kind of like last Thursday night at my radio show, and somebody asked him about being a quarterback at Arkansas. He said he didn't come here to hand the ball off every play. So touche. I think he and I have a good enough relationship but one of the things I really did try to emphasize last year as the season went on, and especially out of the out of season, is and Jim did a great job of coaching this. They do drills, you know, to incorporate this. But as a defensive coordinator, if you have a guy back there you know is never going to leave the pocket, you have a whole different game plan for what you can do to attack him. And that's basically what was happening a little bit last year. It was mainly due to injury, you know, that we couldn't, you know, put him in that spot. It built that confidence because of what they've done, and you don't want to take that away from them. But I do think that kind of what was referenced earlier, you have to constantly remind them, what have you done? Now, I will say this, you know, it's not Texas Tech's offense, but there's some similarities in both that and Northern Illinois that are going to help us carry forward, I think, because of the type of offenses we're seeing now in reference to what we just made a comment on. I mean, these guys aren't that unusual compared to what we see. Now, their execution and their detail and their personnel is better, but you know, the rapidness that we see it, the extent of what calls we're going to make, it's just kind of how do you line up and make sure you're ready to play when the ball is snapped. And I think that was really good. And I think our guys we're getting our hands on a lot of balls. You know, we're making a lot of pass breakups, we're making a lot of nice collisions, we're making a lot of nice negative yard plays with both our defensive line and secondary and linebackers. So those are all positive things. The evolution of the way you got to think defensively depends on who you're playing, what type of offense you're playing, the type of game you expect to play. And to be quite honest, I used to be a 17-point guy on defense. Really felt if you held them to 17 points or less, you had a very good chance of winning the game. But that's probably something of the ages. But that's what my defense coordinator Rob Smith does. So, you know, everybody gets bored. You guys get mad. That's so boring. You know, but to me, it's awesome. The only thing that was great about Saturday was the fireworks. I don't like a lot of scoring, but it makes everybody happy, so that's probably good. And I like the way our guys are playing. There's so many good examples of guys leading at their respective positions, also offense, defense. It's just really fun to watch that kind of come full circle. So it's going to be big this week. Obviously, a tremendous challenge, and going to AT&T Stadium and playing in A&M, a team that's obviously a top 10 team for a reason. They're very, very talented. Really haven't left off much from where they were a year ago. Lost some key players, but have been able to sustain their success. And I've known Kevin from afar. We've been in the league together in the Big Ten for a long time, and he just obviously is a very gifted football coach. He's always had success. Obviously an offensive coach that has been able to continue that as a head coach. I think, you know, just recruiting against him for a long time, you know, he's got great rapport with his players, a fun guy to be around, and especially a coach like him that takes a lot of pride in an offense, is driven by what the quarterback does. You know, whether he recruited him or didn't recruit him, while they were playing for him, they had a lot of success, and as is the case right now, that's continuing again once again. They're averaging a score every 7 plays, under 7 plays actually, which is an incredible stat. I think it all starts, like we just said, with the quarterback. He's extremely efficient. I think, you know, they didn't try to carbon copy, obviously, what Johnny did. He's his own guy. He's a very confident thrower. Makes a lot of really tight windows, but also can read and understand where to go with the ball when it's not there. Doesn't try to force anything. I think offensively they lost obviously a couple good receivers, but they've been able to recruit a certain level of expectation there, and their run game is efficient as well. You know, they've been very, very good in what they're asking their kids to do, and they execute it pretty clean.
Well, I mentioned the game earlier, and you heard Coach really praising A&M's offense. Now, the Aggies are one of only 2 teams in the country averaging over 8 yards a play, and no team in the country has the rushing attack that Arkansas brings to the table. So let's check in with Coach and Stinch, who are breaking down the Arkansas run game.
Well, Arkansas does an excellent job on the ground, one of the finest rushing attacks that you'll find in college football this season. But, Coach, there's not a lot of smoke and mirrors, but there's some method to the madness of what the Hogs are doing on the field of play and at the line of scrimmage. They're not just lining up vanilla every time. There's reasons for why they're so successful in this run game. And in this instance, yeah, this is the fourth biggest offensive line in the country. But it's not like, hey, mano y mano. We're not going to use some angles. We're not going to use some double teams. We're going to see some evidence here that this Arkansas rushing attack, they're taking advantage of all the tricks of the trade to get this ground game going.
Well, there's no doubt, and I know you love that as an offensive lineman, Matt, going back to your old days, but you're going to show this first, and this is going to be what they call a wham play, and we're going to kind of go through it. But it's not just line up and everybody come off the ball and we're running 2 or 3 run plays. This is a design play right now where they actually take a tight end, bring him back into the formation, and trap an unsuspecting defensive lineman, which is basically an NFL play. You don't see it much in college.
Yeah, a lot of influence going on. It's not just an easy thing to line up and see. What we're going to have happen are angles. So from the outside in, a block. From the outside in, a block on the D tackle. The guard pulls and blocks right here, and they're going to have to win one-on-one at the left tackle position, and that's exactly what we end up seeing. This isn't just your everyday dive. It's using angles to create leverage. In this instance, the wideout loses on his block. Great vision by Williams to bounce it outside, but there's a reason why, and you see, look at Big Dan Skipper finishing at the edge.
They finish the blocks, but if they miss a block, or if they just don't hold that block long enough, every one of these backs can make cuts and make it look like you really blocked it right. You know what I mean? Every one of them can do that, and that was a great case in point right there.
Well, that's every offensive lineman's favorite running back, is the guy that can make you look good. That's right.
Absolutely.
So we saw angles. In this instance, it's double teams, and Arkansas is fantastic at creating double teams at the point of attack, but they mean nothing if the running back doesn't trust that double team's going to get movement. Arkansas does a great job of getting push up front. You'll see 2 double teams right here in the middle of the line of scrimmage, where they're going to be able to get tremendous push, and watch the patience at the running back position. Trust it, hold it true, slip right between those 2 double teams, Coach. Makes linebackers wrong, because if you pick a side, you can slide off of that double team and get a good block.
Well, and plus when they're getting the double teams, the defense is supposed to hold the point. But when you're getting 650 pounds of double team, you can see they're ending up 3 or 4 yards and behind the line of scrimmage, which now they're playing in the linebackers' laps. But again, you can see Alex Collins just doing a great job of yards after contact. Offensive line's giving that first 4 or 5 yards free of touch, and then he does the rest on his own.
It's great when the umpire is the first guy to make contact with your running back.
Now, by the way, he's 8 yards back.
That's right, yeah, so he's downfield. In this instance, there are 3 double teams at the point of attack. So you'll see double team here, a double team here, and a double team here, and they're going to be able to work these down linemen to these linebackers and just wall off this entire side of the line of scrimmage. And you can see why these backs love running in this offense. Look at that push. You're one-on-one with the safety coming down in run support.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Again, they're big, they're physical, but it's a great scheme, and they mix the scheme up well. Sometimes they're going to trap you. Sometimes they're going to zone you. Sometimes they're going to power you. But these guys know how to come off the ball, and they're getting better at it every week.
Great scheme, a little bit of brute strength, good vision by the running backs. You've got yourself a pretty good run game.
All right, A&M, well, they're 4. Well, that looked like typical Kevin Sumlin coach offense. Aggies averaging just over 55 points a game, second most in the Bowl subdivision. No, by the way, yeah, drop-off. What drop-off? Man, since taking over 2012 for Johnny Manziel, Kenny Hill, he's doing all right. Averaging 405 yards in the air per game. By the way, that's 4th in the FBS. And that defense been pretty stingy in the points allowed department so far. Aggies giving up the 8th fewest points per game, but someone knows they'll be tested, especially their young guys in Jerry World.
Defensively, to have our young guys come out and particularly up front, play very well, and get some of the young guys the experience that they needed. I think that's something that we needed to do as we make this run through the SEC, because we have a number of players that needed to show that they could handle any kind of situation. Justin Manning was one of those guys that hadn't really done much since he's been here. Played well. I'm hoping it's not just because he was in Dallas, or maybe I do hope it's because he's in Dallas since we're headed back there. But for whatever the reason, he was the highest rated recruited inside D lineman we had, and we ended up redshirting him last year. He he played very well Saturday. So get Sean Washington back, and for him to have a couple sacks and play in the manner he played, I think that was important going into this week. So, the defensive depth is something that we've talked about. It's something that we've tried to address here, and to get those guys on the field and have them play in any situation is good. You name it, from highly recruited guys to a guy named Boone Niederhofer, who nobody knew who he was till last week. So, we've got confidence in those guys. You play in a system like we play. We're going to have 8 guys at least that are going to rotate during the game. And I know a lot of things are being said out there in recruiting, particularly right now, that, certain guys, why would you go there and play wide receiver? They're loaded. And that's the case, and that's the case. If you're scared, then this ain't the place for you. We got plenty of guys that play here. We've got highly recruited guys, and we've got Boone Niederhofer, who nobody recruited, who can walk out on that field and catch 8 balls for how many ever yards and do whatever. The best players play here, and we rotate through that. And so you have guys like Boone, you've got guys like Malcolm Kennedy, who has been here forever, Travis Labhart, who was another guy who just was practicing against the girls' basketball team. Next thing you know, he's getting a pro tryout. People, I think, have forgotten about that. I hear a bunch of talk about how we haven't played anybody. So I guess they forgot about the first week, and maybe we forgot about it too. So, you're only as good as your recent week, and we get that. And I think that's why the focus has to be on what's coming up this week. You can't get consumed with the big picture, I don't think, in this league. You just can't. It's the same challenge that Arkansas's running game presents everybody. They're the number 1 rushing team right now in the country. We're the top 2 scoring teams in the league, 2 of the top 3 in the country, with really 2 contrasting styles. They've got 2 fabulous running backs. I think the point total has become interesting to me based on who they've played, because you can run the ball the way they've run it, but I think where they've really improved, they've always been big and strong. They've got 2 or 3 outstanding backs, but I think the quarterback play has really improved. Keon Hatcher is a threat on the outside and can loosen you up. They've got. I saw a stat the other day in their press release. They've got the largest offensive line. If their offensive line was in the NFL, they'd be the biggest guys in the NFL. So let alone our league. So those are some big guys that they run behind, and then they create a lot of problems for you right now from a passing standpoint. I think, we talk about their running backs who are tremendous players, but I think Brandon Allen has really improved as a passer and being accurate in their play action game and quick game stuff. So, you got to be on your P's and Q's to be able to handle that. You can't score that many points just running the ball all the time. And they've created big plays out of their running game. Sure, they've scored a lot of rushing touchdowns, but that's what they do. There's no difference that people ask that at Wisconsin. I mean, it's what you spend your time doing. And there's no arguing that they're very, very good at what they do. And that's been Brett's deal when he was at Wisconsin. And he's stuck to his guns on that, and you can see that's what you believe in. And so when you're good at something, you understand not only how to do it, but you understand the problems that come along with it and how to rectify those problems. So there's a combination of things. There's experience, there's knowing what to do, it's an attitude, and it's belief in your system. And there's no doubt that they believe in it. And like I said, they might have taken their lumps last year, but it's evident right now that they're a very, very confident football team, and they should be based on the way they've played. They're winning 3 in a row. The great thing that we talk about here is it's a privilege to be playing, I think, at the highest level you can in college football. And the expectations and the venues, the national exposure, because the games are big. And there is something at stake in every week. And you know, a lot of people can say that, but it's really not true. And I think in this league, particularly in the West, you've seen teams make dramatic improvement, and we're about to face one of those this weekend.
All right, back with Marcus Spears and Coach Chizik, an old Southwest Conference rivalry, gentlemen. This is a matchup. Marcus, you should like this, all the eating you do on SEC Nation.
Man, let me tell you
barbecue
something.
Heaven.
This Arkansas run game, Coach, this is one I'm glad I don't have to play against. These guys are beastie up front. And I mean, they, like Coach Sumlin was saying, they stick to it. This is what Coach Bielema does. He puts his team in situations to dominate football games running the football. We talk about the contrast in style. Arkansas feels like they're the best run team. Texas A&M feels like they're the best passing team. It'll be interesting Saturday.
I really like the matchup because of the contrasting styles like you mentioned, Marcus. I'm going to say this. Defensive tackles, you better get rest on Friday night because it's going to be one of those deals. I mean, to be honest with you, if you look and you watch and you break down the film and you look at how many double teams keep coming on, you know, Hedrick Walker and Alonzo Williams and those guys, they got to hold the point. And let me tell you something. By the fourth quarter, with that big old line that Kevin's talking about,
tired.
You better have a rotation plan. You remember it, Marcus, right there as a defensive lineman. You better have a great rotation plan because they're coming downhill with these guys.
These guys are going to keep leaning on you, and what they expect is for you to get out of either drive you into the secondary or one time you get too tired and you take the easy way out, and that's when they go for 70.
Let me ask you this. When you were playing, did you ever look at an offensive line and go, that's a bunch of big old boys. Yeah. That's a bunch of wide butts we're going to have to go ahead and get after.
Absolutely.
Arkansas is actually big. Man, we had Jason Peters, who's probably one of the top 3 offensive tackles in the NFL right now. He was the tight end. Sean Andrews, who was the best offensive lineman in the country, was the offensive tackle. And he was a Pro Bowl guard for the Philadelphia Eagles. I faced both of those. My week was a bunch of throwing up and nervous energy.
And you don't want to get double teamed by those guys.
Absolutely not. And that's what they do it now.
But one of the other points I do want to mention that you can't get so lost, because I think Kevin brought up a great point. The play action game can kill you when you're so committed down there to stopping this run. Brandon Allen's thrown 8 touchdowns and only 1 interception. We only seen him take 70+ attempts, so there's not many, but he can throw the football if they keep him upright, so you got to be very cognizant of that.
Kind of reminds me of a guy that I covered in Denver and you work with on Saturdays, Tim Tebow. If you go ahead, he'll make you pay for that, and Allen has been doing that. Let's go back and talk about A&M's offense. It's fast-paced, 405 yards passing has been absolutely incredible. So, at that point, what can this Razorbacks defense do to stop him?
It's pressure. You have to create pressure situations for Kenny Hill. I think the best way to defend this up-tempo, fast-paced offense is to get negative plays. Create negative plays. Get to the quarterback. Maybe stop a run or two that they try to sneak in on you for either a no gain or a 1-yard loss. Trey Flowers is going to be huge in this game. Up front, you got those guys have to dominate up front. The secondary has to be smart. Keep everything in front of you. It's a lot of athletes on this Texas A&M's offense. It's a lot of matchup nightmares with this Texas A&M offense, and that's what they're going to have to do. Keep everything in front, and they're going to have to get pressure on Kenny Hill.
I'm going to go back to the first game of the year when Jeremy Johnson threw for 243 yards in the first half. I think you got to go back and you got to realize that did happen. Now, they played Texas Tech later and played a much better game, but they were susceptible to that in the first game. There's no question. I think they've improved and got better. One thing that's going to be really interesting, though, is how they prepare for this offense during the week. I think that's a key part of this because you have to simulate the speed and tempo, and then you have to, how do you simulate Malcolm Kennedy, Ricky Seals-Jones? Let me go down the list. All of these guys that they've got, like Kevin said, they got 8 of them. Practice preparation and how they go about practicing for this is going to be huge in their preparation for the week.
And not to mention, A&M has been giving up yards in the run game, but they haven't been giving up touchdowns.
120 some odd yards or whatnot.
And you have to. They gave up 240 to Rice. So Arkansas has to look at that game and say, well, we'll run for 400. No touchdowns for Rice rushing.
Right.
So we'll see. It'll be a give and take. But I don't think anybody can stop Arkansas's run game, and I don't think anybody can stop Texas A&M's pass game.
So other than that, we got it all figured out.
Yeah.
What's the difference between this fast, and then Arkansas is one of the slowest teams? When you look at that, of those two meeting, who has the upper hand there?
I don't think you really know. I think it depends on how efficient each side's playing. It's two different ideas. Look, Kevin Sumlin doesn't care if they lose the time of possession if they're scoring every possession, okay? And then what Arkansas can't do is get down by 3 touchdowns, because as we were talking earlier, Marcus, they're not built to come back from a 3-touchdown deficit. If it's early in the game, they get down by 2 touchdowns, they can still run the ball, pound the ball, play action, don't panic. But when you start getting down 3 touchdowns in a field goal or a 4-score game, they got to go to something that they're just not really equipped.
And Arkansas's best defense is that offense.
Keeping them off the
is
field.
Controlling the clock, keeping these guys off the field. Let's not forget, A&M wants to score in 2 plays. So that defense is going to be tired if they are scoring fast. So it's some kind of management and clock management that Sumlin wants to do, not to have those guys on the field taking on this behemoth of an offensive line that Arkansas has.
All right, the most important question I have, though, and I got to throw it to you, the expert on it. Fayetteville barbecue, College Station barbecue. Which one, big man?
Well, I live in Dallas, so I'm going to go with College Station.
Yeah, I know it.
You going out there?
Absolutely.
How about this one? Battling Big D, Arkansas, Texas A&M, up in Jerry World, Booger.
Can the defense of Texas A&M handle the big physical run game of the Arkansas Razorbacks? And on the flip side, is the Razorback pass defense ready for Kenny Trill?
See if Trey Flowers can go ahead and get a little bit of pressure in that one. That's one of the matchups I'm going to be looking forward to in that game. Bring in Bo Madley, syndicated radio show host from Fayetteville. Man, we got a radio show guy to dress up. Bo, you're looking sharp, my friend.
Hey, I'm just trying to follow you, Peter. Best I can do.
Hey, we're trying to follow how good this Arkansas team is. I'm sure your listeners have been asking, 126 points they've been winning by over the last 3 games. So in your opinion, how real is this team?
It's real when you put it in perspective. If you're talking about competing for the Western Division and the college football playoff, that's not realistic right now, in my view, for Arkansas. But if you want to talk about a legitimate top 25 team, you go look at the power rankings. They're number 20 right now at ESPN.com, and there's reason for that. This is a solid football team who's improved on the offensive side of the ball. They've got a weapon in running the ball. They're a 3rd scoring offense in the country, and they've got a defense that's shown they can get a couple of turnovers, slow some teams down, and they played Auburn for a solid half of football. So I think if you're talking about making a bowl game this year, this team's for real.
All right, they got an opportunity to do that. They're going to have to get some quarterback play. So, Bo, what's the difference between Brandon Allen last year and this year?
The number one thing is his health. He's a completely different quarterback because he's got a healthy shoulder, a much stronger arm. He's got more velocity on the ball than he's had in his entire career. The number 2 thing is he's got a knowledge and an understanding of the offense he didn't have a year ago. And the guys around him also have that. So when you put together a better support system, you see a Brandon Allen that's different. And perhaps the most important thing for him, he's got a lot of confidence he didn't have a year ago.
All right, this A&M offense has been off the charts good. So is the Arkansas defense good enough to be scary to Kenny Hill?
I don't think they're going to be scary to Kenny Hill, but I think they're good enough to get a few stops. They got 5 stops against Auburn. One of them was a fumble. If you can get a couple of stops and your offense is possessing the ball, controlling the time of possession, you get a turnover in there, that's what changes the game. The way Brett Bielema's system is set up for it all to work together with the offense helping the defense, I think the defense is good enough to slow A&M down, make them drive the ball. The biggest key for Arkansas in this game, they've got Tevin Mitchell at corner. They didn't have him against Auburn.
And they're hoping Trey Flowers can get a little bit of pressure. So 2 of the top 3 really most potent offenses in the country. So who do you like come Saturday?
Well, I'll tell you, Brett Bielema in year 2 has really done a remarkable job getting this team to buy into the way he wants to play, and I think they can compete in this game. However, I think Kevin Sumlin and A&M are a little bit further along in their recruiting. They've got more playmakers who can play the way they want to play. They're a little bit better set up, better fit to win this game. The intangible is that A&M is one of the most penalized teams in the SEC, and they've turned it over a little bit. If A&M plays a clean game, I like them to win the game. If they turn it over and make mistakes, look for Arkansas to be right there in the fourth quarter.
It's going to be a heck of a matchup. Bo Mattingly, you look good in that suit, man. Keep it up.
Thanks, Peter.
It's the same challenge that Arkansas's running game presents everybody. You know, they're the #1 rushing team right now in the country. We're the top 2 scoring teams in the league, 2 of the top 3 in the country.
A top 10 team for a reason. They're very, very talented. Really haven't left off much from where they were a year ago.
Look at this. Kenny Hill still on his feet. The ball comes loose. Arkansas picks it up, a scoop and a score.
They might have taken their lumps last year, but it's evident right now that they're a very, very confident football team, and they should be based on the way they've played.
Well, Arkansas and A&M contrasting styles of offense. No SEC team runs the ball more than Hogs, and no one in the conference passes it more than the Aggies. But guess what? The result's pretty similar. A&M averaging over 55 points a game, while Arkansas checks in at just under 49. Both teams also rank in the top 5 in the bowl subdivision in offense's efficiency. All right, back with Booger McFarland. So I got to ask you, when let's say a young Booger McFarland was 21 years old, he's in his dorm room right before the night of a game, which would scare you more, A&M's passing offense or Arkansas's rushing attack?
To me, it's the rushing attack. As a defender, the pass game takes a lot of things to go together. The center, the snap, you have to get back, good route, good throw, good catch. A running game, all you got to do is turn around and hand it off. And as a defender, that's the one thing. It takes your pride away. It takes your soul away when a team can turn around, hand the football off, and just pound you over and over. That scares me so much more than the passing game. It's unreal.
I was just surprised. I thought you were going to come back and say nothing scared Booger McFarland. Use yourself in the third version. Arkansas's defense, are they good enough to get pressure on Kenny Hill? Kenny Hill had no pressure when South Carolina played him. Can Arkansas do it?
I think they are. What they have to be able to do, Trey Flowers, Darius Fallon, they have to. It's very imperative. When you play a game like this, your best players have to step up. They get Mitchell back at the cornerback spot, but it's going to be imperative that Fallon and Flowers up front get a ton of pressure, because we've seen when Kenny Hill doesn't get pressure, he is dynamite in the pocket.
All right, let's talk about a quarterback on the opposite side, Brandon Allen. We haven't really talked about him much, but if they get down in this game, Kenny Hill's able to put up points, and this thing kind of becomes a shootout. Can Brandon Allen, can he keep up?
Well, I don't know if he can keep up, but he can try, because he's got a couple of weapons. Hunter Henry, the tight end, Keon Hatcher. Those are 2 big-time weapons that he has. And more importantly for Brandon Allen, he's healthy. Last year, the shoulder injury, the shots, the not practicing, he's healthy, and he's got 2 big-time wide receivers in Hatcher and the tight end and Henry. Those guys will make it easy for him if he just gets a little protection from Skipper and Cook up front on the offensive line.
Boy, he's been so good play-action passes as well, too. I mean, everyone sucks in right there, and he's been able to go deep. So give me that one matchup, okay, in this game that you say this could be the X factor.
Well, think about this. The head coach, Brett Bielema, against the defensive coordinator, Mark Snyder. Brett Bielema has sold us all offseason long. Guess what? My style of football will work in this conference. And for Texas A&M, Mark Snyder said, you know what? We will be better. We will be more physical. We're going to find out really, really quick just how physical the Texas A&M offensive line and defensive line are, because they're going to get an opportunity to go against a physical running football team. And we're going to see, can that defensive line of Texas A&M, can they hold up to the physicality of Arkansas?
Who has more fans up in AT&T Stadium? Are they going to be more Aggies or more Razorbacks?
More Razorbacks. Jerry's a Razorback. Are you serious? Come on.
He may have just limited the ticket sales.
Exactly.
In the SEC West, they are loaded. 6 of the 7 teams in the West ranked in the AP poll. Bama, Auburn, top 5. A&M and Ole Miss joining them in that top 10. By the way, the only team not ranked, that's Arkansas. They got 9 votes this week. And trust me, I guarantee you, if they win over the Aggies on Saturday, they will be getting up there. All right, it's time for I like that. You like the way it's called SEC West Boogers Power Poll.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. So, I mean, we should call it exactly what it is. It's my poll.
It's all your poll, right?
Exactly.
All right, it's too easy to start from the top, so let's start here at the bottom. SEC West, what team do you have coming in at 7?
For me, it's got to be the Arkansas Razorbacks. I think when you look at them overall, the Arkansas Razorbacks they've grown, they've gotten a little bit better, but their last SEC win was against Kentucky in 2012, okay? And until you show me you can beat an SEC team right now, I think you have to start at the bottom. Physical run game. We all know about their run game. They can run it against anybody. Brandon Allen, he's the question mark. How is he going to progress in the passing game? And can Brent Bielema sell his style of football in the SEC? That's why I have them at number 7 right now.
And by the way, they're 7th in the SEC in Boogers Power Poll ranking. They've outscored their last 3 opponents by 126 points. All right, so where do we go from there? If that's the bottom, it only gets crazier out there. So who do you got at 6? You guys been hitting us up on these great Twitter hashtag SEC versus. Dwayne's in here, says Brett Bielema versus Kevin Sumlin at Jerry's house. Go Hogs. I think I know who he's pulling for. Jason's in here and says A&M's front 7 versus Arkansas's rushing attack. And A&M can play honest D against a power game. The rest of the SEC West is in a whole lot of trouble. Whole lot of trouble. Arkansas, well, they've been a whole lot of trouble. One of the best in Bowl Subdivision, leading the nation in rushing efficiency. And the key is big boys. Big, powerful offensive line. How about this? They average 6'6", 328 pounds a man. Hog runners are averaging nearly 5 yards before contact per run. Second most in the FBS. 5 yards before they even get hit. I could make it as an SEC running back, Booger. Maybe not so much?
No, a little frail guy, a little frail.
Little frail. All right, so let's take a look into it. How does Arkansas continue to be dominant when they're running the ball?
There are 3 things that the Hogs do. One, they get a hat on the hat, meaning they know who to block, and they put one of their offenders on the defender. The second thing they do is the double team block. 2 guys move 1 guy all the way up to the linebacker, and the third thing they do is they play with great technique.
All right, so let's take a look at how they do it.
Absolutely. First play we're going to look at is how they get a hat on the hat. And you see these guys get ready to run this play here. And right now, a hat on the hat is really simple. We're going to make sure we know who to block, and we block them very well. Notice what they've done. You got 1 guy here.
That's a hat on a hat.
That's a hat on the hat.
That's a hat on
1 hat on that hat. You got this guy getting this hat. He's here. He's here. He's coming over here. And guess what that does? That creates a running lane, as we'll see, right through here. And they gash the Auburn Tiger defense because they knew who to block, and they got a hat on a hat. Now, the second thing we want to look at is what I call the double team block, where they come off and they understand I can take 2 guys and move 1 guy and get up and create a seam. And they do that also very well. These 2 guys here, guess what? They have coming up here, he's got him. The fullback will lead through the hole. And what that does, that creates an alley off the double team, a little seam. It's all you're looking for when you got one of the better running games in the country. And Arkansas does it to double team block, another gash. Brett Bielema has brought the Big Ten style of running to the SEC, and it's very simple. And the next thing we want to look at is technique. And guess who we're looking at? The big man.
The big man.
Dan Skipper.
It's like the mountain from Game of Thrones, right? He's huge.
6'10", but it's imperative that he plays with great technique. And guess what? As an offensive lineman, the number 1 thing you want to do, balance and footwork, and then you want your feet to drive. He does that better than any offensive lineman that Arkansas has. Take a look at this. Just beautiful footwork, beautiful footwork as he's running that guy into the ground. And their offensive line is very good because they play together. They get a hat on the hat. They use the double team block very well. And as you saw Dan Skipper, they play with great technique.
All those 3 plays we just showed you went for more than 10 yards. So my question is, what in the world are the Aggies going to do? They look unbeatable at this point, right?
Size is one thing. I'd rather have speed and quickness. And if I'm Mark Snyder, what I want to do, I want to make sure I get ready to use my speed and my quickness, as you're going to see right here. Speed, quickness, and now we get the sack. Size is one thing, but if Mark Snyder allows stunts, twist, he can beat this huge offensive line of Arkansas.
You said A&M passing the ball, or that Arkansas team you just broke down running the ball?
Well, Kenny Hill opened the season throwing for 511 yards, and it's not going to stop. So I'm going with the Texas A&M passing game more yards than the Arkansas running game.
All right. If you look at it, I mean, Kenny Hill right now just been able to put up unbelievable numbers, but you just told me it was hat on a hat double team. I took my notes, Booger.
Yeah, but even with that, this passing game is something special, and I think with their receivers, Speedy Noel, Malcolm Kennedy, and those guys, they have great weapons outside, and Kenny Hill is playing unbelievably, and he's very accurate right now.
Razorbacks looking for their first win in SEC play since October 13th, 2012. When they beat Kentucky, they're taking on A&M in Arlington this weekend. You know, clashes of styles. Arkansas wants to ram it down your throat. A&M wants to spread you out and air it out, so it should be a fun game to watch. The DirecTV National Championship bus is in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Head coach Brett Bielema is prepping his Razorbacks for A&M Saturday in Arlington. Coach, I've heard it several times, a lot of times this past week, that Arkansas is bringing back old school SEC football. Do you mind it when you hear that type of analogy about your football team?
Nah, for me, Chris, old school is a great school. It's been something I've been doing for a while. I learned it under some great coaches. And, you know, in today's world, because there is so much of the new school, we're a little bit of a new school in the fact that a lot of people have never seen it, never been able to execute it the way that we do. And we take a lot of pride, I think, in the way we do things.
Robert, Arkansas 3-1. They for real, you think?
I think that they're for real, but I don't think that they're going to win this game. For real being back to a degree.
Bowl team, maybe?
Oh, yeah, I think that they're going to be a bowl team. And here's the thing about running the football the way that Brett Bielema likes to do it. If you have the horses, not just the running backs, but more importantly, the guys up front, and this offensive line is massive. And those types of body blows will wear a team out. Now, obviously, Brandon Allen, he's going to have to make some plays eventually. But I think that they have enough at the running back spot with Collins, with Williams, the young kid, Marshall. They love that guy. Bielema's raving about him like he's the most explosive player he's ever had. I think that they have enough to be legit and make a bowl this year.
I think everything has to fall the right way for Arkansas to win this game against A&M, and especially early in the game. I don't think that Brandon Allen has any room for error and play action to miss any throws down the field. You got to take advantage of A&M early in this game because we saw it against South Carolina the first game of the year. If you don't get ahead of A&M and you're behind in the scoreboard and you got to throw the ball to catch up, Arkansas could get run out of the stadium.
You know, it's just amazing when you look at A&M. And by the way, what high school receiver wouldn't want to go play for Kevin Sumlin right now?
You'd be 15th on the depth chart. It's the only problem.
Yeah, but you still might have 10 catches. They have 6 guys with at least 10 catches this year. I mean, you go down the line with Kennedy and Pope and Reynolds, Speedy Noel, the true freshman. It's funny.
Seals Jones, too. That guy might be good.
Ricky Seals, the number one guy in the country last year. I forgot about him. And you know, it's funny because we do highlights on Saturdays when we're doing the wraps of the games and things. And, you know, they'll call out another A&M receiver scoring a touchdown. I'm like, who is that guy? Like, you're going into the depth chart.
Tabuyo.
Tabuyo.
That's right.
Like, who is this
gets
guy?
hurt and somebody else just steps right in.
It's unbelievable.
So give me a pick on the game then. You think it's going to be A&M?
I do think it's going to be an A&M. You know, Arkansas has defended the pass fairly well this year, but they haven't faced anything like this. And as South Carolina saw, it's a different kind of animal.
You know, I'm going to go the other direction. I think A&M wins because of their defense. I think they are much better in the front seven. I think Mark Snyder has got those guys. There's finally some depth on the A&M defensive line. Certainly, Arkansas is going to get their yards, and they could rush for 250 yards. So what? They still win the game.
Yeah, how much time does it take you to get those 250 yards? That's the key. Go ahead and try and slow it down. Keep it out of Kenny Hill's trills.
What will the headline be when Saturday's over?
I think we have a chance to have a first headline in the history of college football. You could have everybody in one division ranked. The SEC West, if Arkansas plays a really good game against A&M, maybe upsets them, you're talking about they could have all 7 teams in the top 25. That would be absolutely amazing. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, you've already seen them early in the season having success. Arkansas getting to the ground and pound like Bielema wants. A&M with the surprises. Alabama, the usual. LSU still ranked. It would be kind of crazy if you had every team in the SEC West ranked.
What do you think we'll learn about Texas A&M tomorrow in Arlington?
I think we're going to find out if they're legitimate. I know we already made them legitimate after the win a month ago at Williams-Brice Stadium, but they've been off the radar screen playing an embarrassing non-conference schedule. And not that beating the team we predicted to finish 7th in the SEC West is going to be that big a factor, but Arkansas has moved up, and I think A&M needs to show it's a legitimate team, and I think they probably will.
Yeah, just give me quickly on Arkansas. How are you impressed with them and the steps, at least, that Brett Bielema has made from last year to this year?
Oh, definitely. And I think those of us who really have been in Bielema's camp, when some have criticized the impact and the influence from the Big Ten, I like what he's doing. But still, Chris, you know me, I'm a bit of a cynic. They still haven't won a conference game in about 2 years, so they're going to have to do that before I get the last seat on the Hog bandwagon.
And Coach, it's not going to be easy for this A&M defense because Arkansas can run the football.
They can run the football, and Coach Bielema did that up at Wisconsin. He runs play-action pass. Arkansas has lost 13 straight conference games. This is a much different football team. They play very physical, and their offensive line's outstanding.
They do an outstanding job of blocking with Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams getting it done. They're the #1 rush defense in the SEC, and they know how to block because that's what Bielema's always done. At Wisconsin, block, run the football first, a little bit of play action. They're not going to spread you out. They're going to line up with those big offensive linemen, and it's going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's what they've done. But the challenge for them is this Texas A&M defense is much better this year under Mark Snyder. They played a lot of young guys last year. They cut their teeth last year. They paid their dues. They were dead last in scoring defense in the SEC last year. But guess what? This year, they're second in scoring defense because they got that experience last year and because they played Lamar and Rice and SMU. Didn't hurt, but they built their confidence. So you talk about Kenny Hill and the offense. It's their defense that's been impressive.
Yeah, when you talk about Kenny Hill in this offense, so gain confidence, how about going into Williams-Brice Stadium and lighting them up in your first starts?
Well, you never know what kind of team you have in the first game. And I think they caught South Carolina by surprise. But I'm not sure how good A&M is. And maybe they're a great football team, but they're going to meet a real test against Arkansas. I've coached in the Southwest Conference. This was a great rivalry. Arkansas will be ready to play.
Who do you think wins the game, Coach?
I think Arkansas has got a chance to beat them. Not real good, but they got a chance.
I think it'll be very close. I don't think it'll be like the Auburn-Arkansas game, a very physical game for both sides for at least a half or 3 quarters. But I think quarterback play will win it in the end. Kenny Hill will make a play in the fourth quarter.
AT&T Stadium. It's about 35 minutes away from where Texas A&M just played last week. They were at SMU. Now, Jerry Jones' place. Remember, he was the captain of the '64 National Championship Arkansas team as Arkansas gets ready for A&M. Let's take you back to 1991, the last game in the Southwest Conference for Arkansas before leaving to the SEC. Bucky Richardson, remember that tough guy? Carried defenders into the end zone. A&M won it 13-3.
Hype.
2011, first game after A&M announcing the move to the SEC. Cyrus Gray. Arkansas was down 8, though. Kobe Hamilton stripped, but Jarius Wright. 2-point conversion would tie it under 2 minutes. Arkansas down 3. Broderick Green, the game-winning touchdown for the Hogs. So here they stand now, Arkansas and Texas A&M. Back at SEC Media Days, we talked about this. They were picked 6th and 7th. Now it's the most talked about SEC game of the day, as Kevin Sumlin's been hyping up Brandon Allen, the Arkansas quarterback.
I love it, the contrasting styles, and I think the biggest key for this game is which secondary is going to be able to tackle, because Arkansas is going to get to the 3rd level and make these safeties tackle, and A&M is going to get the ball out fast and make the secondary tackle. Who steps up and makes open field tackles?
Look, we've talked about clock management. We've talked about who's going to score or get a 1 or 2 touchdown lead. This game is going to come down to who's going to effectively do what they do best. Texas A&M throws the ball, they score quick. Arkansas runs the ball, and they score just as quick. I think turnovers, 3rd down stops are going to be the swing in this game, and I'm looking forward to who can make the most stops in those critical moments.
I am really impressed with what Arkansas has done, but I'm confused by A&M. Since we saw them in Columbia down the road, they've been playing a bunch of cupcakes, and now we're making a big deal out of this game. As Joe just said, what are these two teams playing for today? 5th place in the SEC? And with all due respect, A&M.
Wow. No, I think A&M fans would say a lot more. They think they're playing for a national championship possibly
I think
this
both of these
season.
fan bases are playing for a lot of pride and playing to hopefully move up and contend for the West.
Well, A&M already thinks they won the West based on some of the attitude of the fans.
You look at the ability of Texas A&M now. If you look back through the years, No one has stopped them from scoring points. The defense has been the Achilles heel. A better defense for this Texas A&M football team could grant them a way to Atlanta at the
You
end of the
want
year.
to see the best defensive play by Texas A&M this year? The best defensive play by the Aggies this year. Let me show you what one of the cadets did here. Ryan Creeder. Watch this.
Boom.
Protecting Reveille 8. How about that? The SMU receiver was going to run into the live mascot, Reveille 8. He said, no, that's not happening.
They call that the
I
flipper.
love it.
That's the flipper,
I love
baby. Look at that's just beautiful.
Lassie.
Reveille really represents loyalty and commitment, and it kind of symbolizes the relationship that Aggies have to Texas A&M. We're told as mascot corporal to always be aware of your surroundings. You know, it's a possible situation for a player to be heading towards Reveille. When I saw the play progress and the overthrow and the receiver get pushed out of bounds, I didn't have too much time to really think about it, but it was more of just a reaction. I kind of like to say football instincts took over, and I just redirected him over the side, and I was just doing my job.
Watch one of the Corps cadets. Yes, sir. Good job, guys.
Right after it happened, we kind of joked about it, my buddies and I, saying, oh, hey, it might be on ESPN.
An Aggie cadet saves the day. Good form here. Get slow.
Hey, Arkansas, Texas A&M, AT&T Stadium, a.k.a. Jerry's World. A&M has scored 103 points in the 2 games against Arkansas since joining the SEC. We talked about Feinbaum being a unit of measurement earlier. Let's meet the Arkansas starting offensive line. Left tackle is Dan Skipper. He's 6'10", 326 pounds. That's 2.5 Feinbaums. The left guard goes 6'5", 350. That's 2.7 Feinbaums. Where are your legs, Paul? The center, Mitch Smothers, 6'3", 315. 2.4 Feinbaums. Denver Kirkland, this is a good one. Denver Kirkland, a right guard. He's 2.6 Feinbaums, and the right tackle, Bray Cook, 6'7". 6'7" is Bray Cook. He equates to 2.4 Feinbaums. So, Timmy, you were asking.
That is a huge
In total,
line.
the Arkansas offensive line is the equivalent of 12.5 Feinbaums. It takes 12.5 Feinbaums to get you the offensive line.
I don't think the world can handle
Arkansas.
that many Feinbaums.
What is that stride?
Come on, we couldn't.
I mean, I've been working out lately.
Oh. Listen, they have been awesome. That offensive line and the commitment of Brett Bielema of what they have as an identity has been awesome, Marcus.
Listen, they play old school football. That's what I love about Arkansas. I had a coach used to say, we're going to line down and we're going to make them like it. And that's what Arkansas does. And you can see here, they get a hat on the hat. They move guys out of areas instead of just getting the body on the guy. You see guys driving. And then when I bring this play back, put your attention on this left tackle right here as we look at it at the screen. This is finishing a block. He doesn't know what's going on behind him. The running back could still be running, and he's finishing blocks. I love the way these guys play up front. This is why they have so much success. I literally could go play running back for Arkansas and probably rush for 150 a game.
Marcus, I completely agree with you. The reason this team is competitive is because of their running game. But the reason this team could win games is because Brandon Allen is better than people think. He has a lot of talent with his arm, and he also has a lot of talent with his legs. Look right here. There's two defensive players that win. They get by their blocks. Brandon Allen does not panic. He gets outside of the pocket. His eyes are down the field. He hesitates. He slows up. He finds the receiver in the back of the end zone, and he fires a strike to him. That is a very athletic, smart, calm play. Not a lot of people understand how talented this kid is. That is a very, very well executed play. We call that a scramble drill. He didn't panic. He executed it, and they had a touchdown because of it. You see here what the run sets up in the play action. This is a play action draw, and because of the run fake, you get both safeties to step up because their eyes are in the backfield because of these running backs. Therefore, you have Keon Hatcher down the field by himself, and Brandon Allen, that's a 55-yard post right in stride to Keon Hatcher. That is a very well executed plays And to win the game versus A&M, they're going to have 2 or 3 of these plays where they get by Armani Watts and DeShazer Everett, and they make big plays.
Listen, when you talk about play action from a defensive standpoint and you can run the football, it's like a vacuum. Everybody, as soon as you give that fake motion from a quarterback, everybody's coming up because you think you need all 11 to stop this run
I'm
game.
so curious as to why Brandon Allen is better. Did he get better as an individual, or is the team so much better and executing better that it allows him to showcase what he can be?
Well, he has a lot of God-given ability. He's healthy. And also this running game is making everyone's eyes are in the backfield. And this kid has a lot of talent. You see him 2 times last week throw outs, 15-yard outs to the field. Not a lot of QBs can make that throw. So if he's consistent and he also makes a few third down with his legs, that's a scary offense.
What this game has turned into, Paul, is something
Paul
interesting.
does not like it.
Yeah, you know, while you were making millions of dollars a year getting ready for the NFL, I was studying Shakespeare, and he once wrote, "A lot of sound and fury signifying nothing." We're talking about the 2 schools that were picked 6th and 7th in the West in Birmingham a couple of months ago, and you guys are acting like this is the Super Bowl.
Paul is quoting
Is this going to be our head shake next week of why did we hype up Arkansas? Why
Paul,
did we do that?
Let's look at a few of these stats.
Okay.
Arkansas's offense is the number 3 scoring offense in the country. That is not just because that is not like made up. They actually played Auburn, a very good team.
Yeah.
Texas Tech, a pretty good team. Given the other games weren't as big, but they're the number 3 scoring offense in the country. Those numbers don't lie.
Here's another number with Arkansas. It's very interesting. We know that they can control clock, but they are up there among the national leaders for quick strike touchdown drives because they're ripping off 60-yard runs, 70-yard runs. This is actually a dynamic offense as much as it can be a weapon to keep another offense off the field.
It's definitely a dynamic offense, and they're actually last as far as how often they run plays every 30 seconds, and they're playing a team that's first in Texas A&M, and they run a play every 20 seconds.
Paul, you're so strongly hinting.
I'm all in. The greatest game in the history of college football. Can't wait. What time does it start?
Yeah, we'll tell you some start times right now, because now the game that Feinbaum has bought into as the greatest game of the college football season, Arkansas at Texas A&M. The contrasting styles, but the scoring attacks of both offenses.
Feinbaum, I know you love stats, so I'm going to give you a pretty impressive stat. Texas A&M is scoring the ball 70% of the time. Number 1 in the country, number 1 in the SEC. But everybody always wants to give them a hard time about their defense. Their defense isn't improving. Their defense isn't getting better. They can't stop anyone. Well, how about teams only score 17% of the time they get the ball? By the way, that's number 1 in the SEC. Better than LSU, better than Alabama, better than Florida. So they're doing a few things right on defense. I'm going with Texas A&M.
Love this Arkansas run game, but I'm just not there yet to pick them over Texas A&M. I believe Texas A&M has too many weapons in the secondary. It'll be a gauntlet for Arkansas to try to get through on the back end. And I think the run game will be successful for Arkansas, but it won't be enough. I got Texas A&M.
Are you willing to go there, Paul?
In the pantheon of greatest college football games ever. A&M.
Nobody took Arkansas there. All right.
In the SEC West, Jerry Jones' alma mater, Arkansas, takes on the Hogs. Clash of styles. Should be a lot of points in that game. And Johnny Manziel, in the Browns' bye week, there to support his heir apparent, Kenny Hill. 3 years ago on that very field, Kenny Hill lit it up in the 5A state championship game. 4 touchdowns. Southlake Carroll, same high school as Chase Daniel, Greg McElroy. They also won state title, so he's back in a place he's familiar with. His teammates say he'll play better against the better competition. They're so confident in him.
Kenny to come in and be as poised and unrattled as he is, especially being only a sophomore, he's been terrific.
Leadership-wise, the way he's playing, I mean, he's done a great job so far. He's leading the locker room like a vet.
Him walking out there the first drive at South Carolina and really operating at the level that he operated with, and that's when you know, okay, this guy, he gets it.
The quarterbacks that come here, they understand that it's a tradition now with the Johnny football and the Kenny Trill.
He got away from Kenny football and came with something nice. I really like his nickname.
Let's give him a little bit more time before we just put that on him.
Kenny Trill, Kenny Hill, whatever it may be, he plays Trill.
No, people are still kind of talking about Johnny Manziel a little bit. I think if Kenny keeps on working hard and playing like he is, I think people might forget about Johnny too.
Yeah, it took him one game to get that Kenny Trill nickname. That was after he demolished their beloved Gamecocks right here in South Carolina. They're never going to forget Kenny Hill's name. Samantha Ponder joined us along with our quarterback guru, George Whitfield. Hi, Sam.
Hey, Chris, we've heard about that trademark, George, of Kenny Trill. David Pollock's been calling him Kenny Chill, saying it's a little too early for all that. You on board?
Well, I think defenses hope he continues to chill as well.
Yeah, that might make sense. All right, let's talk about him on the field this year. Obviously, here is where he had a little bit of a coming out party. What makes you think he can sustain that kind of success?
Well, Chris showed you earlier, this kid's accustomed to the big stage. As a youngster growing up in big-time football Texas, state player of the year, been in state championship games, and he has one of the best offensive coaching staffs in America. They are going to wrap and craft this offense around him. He's going to be fine.
We've heard all his teammates and his coaches talk about his poise, but obviously that only gets you so far. You have to show what you can do when you get on the field with the X's and O's. What makes this guy different?
Kenny is playing at a graduate level at such a young age. Well, look right here, this game against South Carolina, his first start ever. Most of the game is being played pre-snap. He sees the adjustments by these safeties. Early on, he's got his dig taken away from him. Now we'll play here behind him. Dig's taken away from him. That's gone. One high safety. Let the ball go. Look at the ball placement now for the post right behind it. This is something that young NFL quarterbacks aspire to do. This is amazing
And
stuff.
not taking anything away from him, but that protection he had right there, the little running back picking up the block too.
That's right.
I know you're dialed in with Johnny Manziel. You work with both of these guys. How did Johnny respond to that first game from Kenny?
I just talked to Johnny yesterday. I said, did you expect this? He said, I knew he could ball. I just didn't think it would be this early.
Even surprising Johnny Manziel. Chris, you mentioned he's going to be at the game tonight. You think the camera will be on him maybe once or twice?
I just wonder about that, a potential distraction. More than that in a second. Manziel was so good and explosive, the offense was with him, that they could win despite giving up 30 points a game last year. Now, so far, through the first 4 games this year, you can see the improvement, but how much do we know about the Lamar? I mean, yes, South Carolina, they scored 28 points. The competition hadn't been great. Now they take on an Arkansas team that's running and even throwing the ball pretty well. Nice clash. You're a boxing guy.
Love
styles, make fights. Good clash of styles.
I like this style. I like this one. I think that because Arkansas, not only can they run the ball, but they can control the clock. It will probably limit A&M's possessions. So they're going to have to really be efficient with the ball on offense. I think that Arkansas's defense is going to really have to get the ball out of Kenny Hill's hands quick and try to put a lot of pressure on him. If I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm saying every time this kid drops back to throw a pass, we're going to hit him. We're not going to hit him late to get a penalty, but he's going to feel our presence. So that's the thing for me. Defensively, Kenny Hill has to feel Arkansas's defense, their presence.
I don't care the slightest bit about A&M's offense. I want to see their defense. We've talked about it all last year. It was the Achilles heel. It was the weakness.
Yep.
Let's see if they step up. They look improved against Rice, against SMU, against Lamar. This is a game where Arkansas will challenge them physically. Are they ready in that front 7? Are they physical enough and good enough to stop Arkansas's run? This, to me, shows me where A&M's at. Are they the elite of the elite, or are they going to be a good offensive team that's going to be sporadic on defense?
Remember 2 years ago when Johnny Manziel burst onto the scene and won the Heisman? It was Kevin Sumlin's first year, and A&M was one of those teams when they beat Alabama. It's like, who are these guys? All of a sudden, they're playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They had great chemistry. Last year, they were schizophrenic. They were a team that was, I think, a circus internally because of Johnny Manziel and because of Mike Evans and what he brought to the table. It was just an emotional team. So when it was going good, they were happy. And when it was going bad, they weren't. This year, they're off to a great start. Now everybody's doing this. To the quarterback, everybody's telling them, hey, you're the best team in the SEC West. I just want to see how they handle prosperity. When Arkansas hits them right in the nose, do they fold, or do they continue to play with a lot of confidence and the togetherness that it took to beat this South Carolina team that opening week?
And Arkansas is going to hit them with overhand rights, too.
Yeah.
It's not just jabs, baby.
No,
they're hitting them with haymakers.
Yeah. Calling out the Aggies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've done
How
that
could you not?
a lot. I mean, last year they were they were a wreck emotionally, and it was all because Johnny didn't mean it, but the circus and the sideshow that was created by him was not healthy for
Circus
their team.
back in town, though. Do you like him being in the sidelines there? He's going to reportedly perhaps get a ring that you don't get
all those guys love him.
Johnny, it's more of the buzz when he was their quarterback.
Was that an early lean for you? Was that?
Yeah, a little bit of a lean.
Okay.
Meanwhile, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Jerry Jones welcoming in the old alma mater. Remember, the SEC West, 22-0 against all others. If they're about to start colliding each Saturday, Mississippi State shook up the race with that milestone win at LSU. Now, can Arkansas do the same against Texas A&M? Or are the Razorbacks about to get a reality check? Sumlin's side made history. 30-plus points allowed last year. They still won 9 games. We asked before, how improved is the Aggies' defense? We're fixing to find out in this 4-game divisional gauntlet here. They were very porous against the pass here, haven't allowed a rushing touchdown, but haven't been tested in the way Arkansas will test them today. Bielema building that program around the offensive line. They blocked very well. 3 different Hogs have had touchdown runs of 80-plus yards. 3 different guys. No other team has more than one. Alex Collins is one of them, Florida speedster, off to a great start again. He wore down a little bit in the SEC a year ago, trying to avoid that this time. Jonathan Williams will share carries. He tore through Texas Tech and Northern Illinois. Williams, a 223-pounder, a physical guy. Can they wear out A&M's rebuilt front 7? Well, here's Bielema with Casey Smith.
Coach, 2 contrasting styles of offense. You guys like to run it. A&M likes to throw it. What do you see the advantages are?
Well, I think it's about who does what they do best. Obviously, we've practiced all week a certain game plan, really year-round. But obviously, A&M is a very gifted football team, do a lot of really good things, and excited about the opportunity.
And how have you prepared your defense for A&M's offense?
Well, we've had multiple huddles coming at them. I think the neat thing about this year's team at A&M is obviously Kenny's continue to do what they do very well, but he's different. So it's an exciting challenge. I think our guys understand it, but it comes down to execution when that clock begins.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
Thank you. Will Pig.
Now, besides the running game, Brandon Allen, the embattled quarterback, they're playing better. 8 touchdowns, 1 pick, but his problems began when the SEC season started. We're going to see there.
Well, Arkansas is going to bring a Big Ten running style to Texas. The question is, can A&M stop them? But not to worry. A&M's got enough skilled people to outscore them. A&M is number 2 in the nation in total offense. They continue it. A&M beats them.
55 points a game with Kevin Sumlin, without Johnny Manziel, with his new quarterback, Kenny Hill. But I think they're going to be tested. I think it's on the other side of the football. I really believe that we've learned now in watching Arkansas play that in the second year with Brett Bielema, it's becoming a Brett Bielema team. Big offensive line and ability to run the football. Let's take a look at our Home Depot coaches playbook and see what they've been able to do so far. And a lot of it starts up front. Remember the power game in Madison, Wisconsin with all those great backs? Now he's starting to be able to establish that and just really lean on defenses for 4 quarters. He's got Alex Collins, who's Chris said earlier, leads the SEC in rushing. They'll run it to the right. They'll run the same thing to the left. Both the guards have an ability to get up to that next level and make blocks. To have a tandem, just like he did at Wisconsin, is big to be able to keep both backs fresh. And this is the big thing today for Brandon Allen. The same look, play action on early downs. What it does, this is Auburn's defense in the opener. It freezes the linebackers. It makes them think run first and opens up spots behind that for play action pass. So Brandon Allen, to me, as much as we talk about Brett Bielema and running the football and physicality, if they go into this game and win it, it's going to be because Brandon Allen doesn't have to throw for a ton of yards, just enough like that last picture you saw to be able to win this game. Arkansas shocks a lot of people and knocks off Texas A&M today in Arlington.
That is a great call.
Thank you, sir.
I got Arkansas, too. I got the Razorbacks. I think the order of the day is going to be discipline. Defensively, how disciplined will Arkansas's defense be? Don't forget, A&M, they give you a lot of eye candy. Don't get mesmerized by the motions, the shifts. You have to trust your coaching and trust what you know. Read your keys on defense. And offensively, we know that Arkansas, they want to ground and pound. They want to run the ball. A&M strikes fast and often. If A&M gets ahead early, will Brett Bielema have the discipline to stick with his game plan and still just run the ball behind those big Hogs and their talented running back core that they have? That, to me, is going to be the key.
Yep.
Good question. You got 2 guys out here that
we got Razorbacks.
Pick the Hogs.
Yes, I got A&M. They can score. They can score against anybody. This guy Hill's a pretty good quarterback. I got A&M.
But they can't score if they're on the sideline.
Exactly.
That's a big part of Arkansas.
Bielema wants his team to limit the huge plays. He thinks that they can make the Aggies have to go 6, 7, 8, 9 plays. If you can just keep the offense in the field, perhaps the execution will break down. But that nobody's been able to do that yet, so we'll see. In Arlington, a lot of points expected. The Hogs and the Aggies clash of styles.
No, everyone's talking about A&M's offense. It's hard to score touchdowns when you're on the sideline watching your defense get mowed down by Hogs. I got Arkansas beating the Aggies.
Well, I think the Aggies are awful good, and I think their quarterback is incredible. I'm taking Texas A&M.
Great pick. Great. By a touchdown and an extra point. It's very important.
7 points.
Yeah, 7 points.
So they cover or they don't cover? They cover.
We're talking about covering.
I think Arkansas. Yeah, you're allowed to. You can throw that out there. I like Arkansas. I think Brett Bielema's second year. This team's finally starting to show what Brett Bielema wants: physicality. Brandon Allen will be the star of the game today. Arkansas upsets Texas A&M.
Trey Williams deep for the Aggies. Returnable from the goal line. Good block on the right side. Hauled out of bounds by the kicker. Arkansas opened the game with a 97-yard kickoff. Here's the handoff. Right side, it's Brandon Williams, number 1, who's popped. Jeremy Sprinkle is in the tight end now. Number 83, 1 of 3. Allen to throw. Down the right side, man coverage. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Would it be matchup of this game? Would it be the running game for A&M, and the running game starts out strong, versus the left-handed passing game for Arkansas?
Because I'm the one who doesn't know who they are. Edrick, first catch. Run up the middle. Alex Collins said you can tell these 2 young men easily. Now they look like they might double team. They don't. But look at Collins. Spin move. First down plus.
There is no way against the size of this offensive line, as you look at it for Arkansas, that front 7 alone for A&M is going to stand up. When I said buckle your chin straps for the secondary to stop this running game, as you look at the size, the biggest in all of football, pro or college.
Absolutely. First down and 10.
There's the boot. There's the
there
boot.
It is. Wide open. It's Sprinkle, the tight end. Alex Collins is in the wing to the left side. Allen has time. Beautiful. Nice catch by Hunter Henry.
Already made the call to his offensive coordinator.
He won't need to. Jonathan Williams, touchdown, Razorbacks.
Armani Watts had time. Number 23, another true freshman, gets his first taste of what it's like to take an elite running back on one-on-one. 1 missed tackle, 2 missed tackles. Master Giovanni missed it, Master Giovanni missed it, and then Watts missed it.
You know, I know you've been working on that name all week long.
Hey, he missed 1 tackle, I missed 1 name. We're even.
Mike Matthews of the fabled Matthews family is over the ball. He's missed the last couple. Oh, dear. Darius Philon. Williams got to the gap.
Well, Philon just beats into the gap before he can even block down on him on that play and gets a negative play.
Crossing out, they go deep instead, and it's overthrown.
Derby and Henry.
And off the middle. Corliss Marshall. Hill rolls out, pumps. He'll keep. Fourth down. At Arkansas. Allen, right side. Nice.
Well delivered, wasn't it? Been playing better.
Yes, he does.
See if A&M doesn't start throwing the ball down the field here a little bit.
Hill tipped, almost picked off.
Well thrown, but well covered again.
SMU played TCU over at Gerald Ford Stadium earlier today. Oh, that was tipped in the line.
To put pressure. Inside, is it Bijan? Yes, it is. Number 78 is the guy that gets the tip on the ball.
Alex Collins. And they'll come up the middle on the first down play. Well, Gary, 7-7 ball game. Both teams scoring on their opening possession. Alex Collins. Alex Collins has an angle, and he's got the speed, and that is an Arkansas touchdown run of 50 yards.
Down, and then Hunter behind him walls off, and into the secondary they go. I could pick out a lot of other guys. A slam, and Hunter turns, and watch, one step cut, bam, and away he goes. Armani Watts goes. I've never seen anything like that in high school.
4 men down for the Razorbacks. It's Cameron Clear, the tight end, shifts to the left. Hill under pressure. Finds the open man. And
DJ Dean, number 2. The effects of the targeting being called. Watch him pull off and not do the hit. That's what they're trying to do.
Hill, handoff right side, Trey Carson. Nice tackle. Trey Williams plays.
Sitting next to Jerry Jones? Was that the guy?
I think
As
so.
the All-American player?
Could have been. He's aged a little.
Oh, in the secondary again.
Yeah.
Cameron is 6'6", 307. Lined up at tight end, I believe over there. Yeah, there he is.
Fake the reverse. Go deep, wide open. Touchdown, Henry Hunter.
Figure out who went out for the pass.
Number 76, offense. 10-yard penalty, remains second down.
At the 41. And again, it's Williams. They alternate the two backs, and then 14-14, 6:42 to go in the first half. Deep. A year ago, he's been 14 of 16 since he's perfect this year. 6 of 6, this from 40 to break the tie, and it is wide right.
Oh, my.
Hatcher, number 4. 2 wides to the left side. Allen pumps, lets it go.
What a play.
Caught! Jared Cornelius.
That's a surprising series for me for Arkansas. I thought they would bang the ball. Really did.
And they got a lot of room to the left. Still up. Touchdown, Sam Irwin Hill. Take a look.
4 A&M players are lined up outside the center. Only 2 blockers, but the 2 blockers are positioned well. You seal the edge, and then you bring the big guys from behind around. It was like a sweep. And I don't think even Arkansas envisioned it working this well. Boy, Kevin Sumlin has to turn around and go, I told you guys.
51-yard touchdown on a fake.
Now, too, he's got even more ambidextrous to him.
He's amphibious,
Yes,
for heaven's
there you
sake.
go.
Kenny Hill almost picked off.
Number 74, Ifedi, struggling with Flowers. Let's see if he can handle it.
Oh, he did again. That one popped in the air. The hit on Sabian Holmes.
Let's see this one. That ball was behind, not a good throw, and Sabian Holmes had no way of catching that one.
Rohan gained. Left side, tipped and incomplete. Allen Turner, number 27.
Quick out. Well covered, and I think that was the key. Vern, you had it. Well covered. This ball was almost impossible to get in there. The hand was out there.
Play action. Allen. Got him open.
Great adjustment by Keon Hatcher that time.
Alex Collins, the running back. Play fake. Allen looks deep, wide open. A.J. Derby, touchdown.
They only needed one pop. Well, he hides the ball here, and he pays back his old buddy John Derby with a touchdown for A.J.
He beat Devontae Harris. Whoa, did he beat him. A.J. Derby said a year ago his demeanor, because he would yawn, almost fall asleep in meetings. He said that's just the way he is. He's very quiet.
And Jake Spavital said, I don't know if he's really had any adversity yet as the big guy.
Is the 7th pass broken up today for Arkansas.
And Trey Flowers has done 2 of them from the defensive line, a la J.J. Watt.
Left side. Trey Carson, no. Dietrich Wise, number 48, with that tackle.
They're doing a great job on both sides, and these are 2 elite tackles.
Second down and 14 after the loss. There's the reverse. Malcolm Kennedy chased. Not much room. Knocked out of bounds by Martrell Spate. That's at least 9 tackles for Spate. Not on this play. They do stunt in the middle. Allen. Oh, dear. Hunter Henry. Well, what's at stake here for Arkansas? They've lost 10 against top 25 opponents. They've not won in the SEC since 2012. They had only 3 wins in all of last season. They're looking for their 4th, and they lead 28-14 as we begin the final quarter. Jonathan Williams spins, still up, down at the 1.
Personal foul, tripping, number 76, offense. 15-yard penalty, replay first down.
Off. Then Arkansas, as you pointed out, they haven't won a game in the SEC in 13 tries.
Trey Williams, number 3, good defense. And the big play offensively in this half was the trip.
Yeah, it could be the play of the game, really, because they look and think about the...
Hill dances up, goes deep, got a man down there. It is picked off. Intercepted. Carroll Washington.
Man-to-man coverage to the outside. He knows he's got them all by himself. He takes them, cuts inside, and this time defends it. Wonderful job.
Handoff left side, big hole. And a first down.
See, that's what this Arkansas offensive line is used to doing, is wearing down the defense.
7-point edge. Frank Ragnow is now the center. Here's a nice run and a knee. Oh! Wow! Williams across the 50.
It's 23 that had the tackle, and then he spun through it. Was Watts. Armani Watts is getting baptized. This is what the SEC used to be like 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. Now it's turned into a little bit more of a spread game.
Now 4-11. Huge hole. Alex Collins.
The quarterback center exchange problem. 44 yards, man.
And John Henson kicks it. It's going to be wide left. Aggies have a chance. Hill wants it. Caught. It's going to be 4th down. Edward Pope, no timeouts. He played 60 in Arlington. It is the end of regulation.
I think you do what you do.
Okay.
Kenny Hill's hotter now, throwing the ball. They found some creases. Let's see what they threw. Oh, legal procedure. No, they got away with it.
I thought Kennedy moved. I did too.
Yep.
First down 10 at the 25.
Got him.
Deep down the middle. Got him. Malcolm Kennedy touchdown. Jonathan Williams gets the handoff. Stopped after a gain of 2.5. Ivan Robinson, number 89. Second down, toss. Williams. Third down.
The freshman, Myles Garrett, makes the play.
Into the flat, caught. Short of the first down. A.J. Derby made the catch. It'll be fourth. They give it to him. He's stopped. Aggies win. Julian Obioha, number 95, defensive end. First Aggie there.